Over the last 2 modules, you've learned a range of strategies to help you step out of the cycle of insomnia. You've learned about good sleep hygiene and how to create the right conditions for sleep. You've learned to recognise the difference between feelings of tiredness and sleepiness to help you decide on the optimal time to go to bed. And you've set up an optimal get-up time and bedtime to maximise your sleep efficiency, and are now making adjustments to this schedule as needed. You've been learning to recognise and change unhelpful thoughts about sleep to adopt a healthier mindset for sleep. You've also been practicing relaxation techniques to help you wind down and reduce general stress. All of these steps will go a long way to help get your sleep back on track. But of course, they won't work all the time. So what can you do on the nights when you don't sleep well? And how can you deal with the feelings of tiredness during the day? In this module, we'll explore a mindful way to work with the difficult and the uncomfortable feelings that arise when things don't go the way we'd like them to. Facing any kind of difficulty in life, whether it's a sleep problem or any stressful experience, can generate feelings that we don't like and don't want. We all have a natural aversion to painful feelings or emotions, and we're all attracted to good feelings like joy and happiness. That's the way we're wired. We try to avoid the uncomfortable situations and we seek out the positive experiences, holding on to things that make us feel good. In your homework, you are asked to notice your thoughts, emotions, and body sensations when you encountered unpleasant events. So what did you notice? How did you react to these unpleasant events? Most likely, when you faced an unpleasant situation, you wanted it to go away or you wanted to move on from it. You might have noticed that it came with some unwanted and unpleasant feelings, maybe like sadness or frustration, shame, disgust, feelings that you'd prefer not to have. You might have also noticed some uncomfortable body sensations arising too, like heaviness or tightness or pain or heat, tension, agitation, restlessness. Our inherent aversion to the unpleasant situations and uncomfortable feelings leads us to adopt a whole range of avoidance strategies. It might be frantically trying to solve or fix a problem so it disappears, or conversely, we might ignore or deny that a problem even exists. We avoid many feelings with distraction or diversion techniques, such as watching too much TV or overworking, internet overuse, obsessive shopping, gambling, overeating, or relying on alcohol or drugs to dull the experience. Even daydreaming and fantasizing about an ideal world are forms of avoidance. These avoidance behaviours may seem harmless in the short term, but once they set in as habitual patterns, they can have a damaging effect on our health and our well-being. And what's more, when we don't allow ourselves to directly face difficult situations in our lives, we miss the opportunity to develop and grow through the experience and discover the potential strengths and capabilities that lie within us. Of course, further problems arise when difficult situations can't be avoided, or we can't have the things that we want, which happens all the time. So this creates 2 levels of suffering. We have the initial negative experience of a difficult situation, and then a second level of pain as we struggle to push it away. Or there's the pain of missing out on what we want and the extra suffering that comes from the longing for it. During difficult times, the principles of acceptance and letting be can guide us to respond in a mindful way. So rather than push negative feelings away or try to fix difficult situations, we can turn towards them and leave them just as they are. So this is the first step towards acceptance. Turning towards difficulty and facing challenges in our lives involves being prepared to feel the uncomfortable feelings that invariably comes with a challenge. By doing this, we begin to learn how to trust in our capacity to hold the feelings in our awareness without having to do anything with them. By observing and staying with our emotions in this way, we begin to see how they're always changing and that in time they will pass. So when we can't sleep, rather than try to force or will ourselves into sleep, which never works, an alternate and wiser approach would be to go along with the sleeplessness and practice resting. This leaning into the experience is a willingness to leave things as they are for a time so as to learn a new set of skills and responses. We might not like the way things are, but we can take time to work with what's happening rather than work against it. So trying to force sleep is futile. Non-acceptance heads us straight back into the cycle of insomnia. So getting frustrated and anxious, tossing and turning, counting down the hours we have left to sleep, and more agitated thoughts about how much we need to sleep. Accepting sleeplessness helps us to remain calm and rational so that we can make a wise choice about how to respond. Responding may be to stay lying down to rest the body, recognising the restorative value of this. Or it might be to get up and spend the time awake, doing something relaxing and restful. It's really important to say here that acceptance does not mean resigning to insomnia or giving up on your hope to sleep well. Quite the opposite. Accepting being awake is an active process that encompasses trust in the body's natural capacity to regulate itself, such that sleep will come in its own time. And in the meantime, resting the body offers important restoration and recuperation. Acceptance is choosing a mindful response to insomnia. Acceptance of insomnia may seem very counterintuitive, especially in a culture that tells us to never give up until we reach our goals. However, in many situations, it's not always helpful to immediately try to fix or solve the problem, and there's wisdom in letting things be. This means giving ourselves time to really investigate what's going on, to gain a deeper understanding of the problem and to discover what can be learned from it. It also allows us to develop a new set of skills and responses in relation to the problem. Letting insomnia be gives us the chance to see beyond the initial unpleasantness of it and to learn from it, and to understand what it might be teaching us about ourselves and how we live our lives. So I'd like to read you a poem by Rumi, a 13th century Sufi poet, who summed this up beautifully when he wrote the poem The Guest House. This being human is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honourably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. So what does all this mean when it comes to dealing with insomnia? Please complete the following exercise to reflect on how acceptance might